Over the last few years, there has been a shift in the number of Canadians who want to accept new immigrants in the country. Since 2020, that number has decreased drastically. For more on this, let's bring in Nick Nanos, founder and chief data scientist at Nanos Research. Nick, thanks for joining us this morning.
Good to see you, Roger.
How precipitous is this drop that we're talking about?
Well, Roger, think of it this way. We're a country that was largely built through immigration, and Canadians have historically been very positive and welcoming of immigrants. But big question is there a change in the air right now? We asked a question. We basically prompted Canadians on whether we should be accepting more, fewer, or the same amount of immigrants. And what you see, at least since 2020, is a significant increase in the proportion of Canadians that believe that we should be accepting fewer immigrants. That's increased from 40% to 53%. So now, Roger, to put that into context, a majority of Canadians right now believe that we should be accepting fewer immigrants. And, only 8% think that we should be accepting more. And that's a big change in the last 3 years. And I think this speaks to the rising numbers of new Canadians that have come in, and the fact that Canadians want an orderly system and they support immigration, but perhaps for some this is just a little too much.
It is. I mean, what was the number? Was it 1 million last year? I'm trying to remember the exact. Around 1 million, I believe, right? That we accepted last year.
Especially when you start factoring in foreign students that are coming in on visas, it's a pretty significant number. Thinking about the size of Canada, right? So yeah, absolutely, Roger.
And what are some of the concerns? Is it housing prices? I mean, we've seen housing prices soar, not slowing down. We talked about, you'd mentioned the international students. What are some of the concerns?
Well, I think a lot of it has to do with housing. Roger, to sum it up, we're talking about the collision of immigration and housing as big issues. The thing is that on the housing front, we asked in a survey that we did about reducing immigrants until housing becomes more affordable, and about 6 out of every 10 Canadians supported or somewhat supported that, while only about 36% opposed that. And I think this speaks to the fact that, Canadians are not experts in housing, they're not experts in immigration, and that's all they know is if you bring 500,000 new people into the country, they've got to live somewhere. And at the same time, Canadians are struggling to pay for the rent. They're struggling to pay for their mortgage. They're struggling to pay for groceries. And they're wondering, where are these people going to live? Perhaps this is about, not necessarily bringing in more Canadians, but the plan, or what we call it, a lack of a plan on how they will be integrated and housed when they show up to Canada.
Lots on the minds for politicians as we look at a potential election. And another poll that just came out, the Conservatives look to be holding on to the lead, even growing it a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. What we're seeing in the Nanos tracking is about a 6-point advantage for the Conservatives over the Liberals. And Roger, that is a magic number for the Conservatives because under Stephen Harper, they won a few elections with a 6-point advantage. It's going to be interesting to see whether they can hold on to this. But for the Liberals, they've been trailing the Conservatives for a number of weeks, for months almost. The Liberals have to figure out how they can change this trend line, because if it consolidates and continues, that'll be bad news for Justin Trudeau and the Liberals. And then watch out for there to be more focus on the Conservatives as a potential government in waiting, Roger.
All right. We always appreciate talking to you, Nick. Thanks very much for joining us this morning.
Take it easy.